tried to ignore as many rules as I could possibly ignore and still construct something quite as fluid as it should have been. It was very recoverable. It just took a little bit of extra time, and that's okay. Hi, welcome back. I am Dawn at the lake, and today we are working on continuing our project for making a quilt sack. This is the bottom portion of it, the front part of it, beneath where the zipper goes. This is the left side of the front, and I have the right side of the front of the pattern on my table, and I have been working on that. If you've been following along, you might have expected that I was going to work on the cotton that was going to go right here on this side. I'm not doing that at the moment for a good reason. There are two people to blame for it too. One of those would be Jen Kingwell herself. Oh my gosh, I did not expect this. I was watching the catbird quilts. Actually, I think I watched it Saturday morning, and she comes out with her new video every Friday morning, I do believe. And in it, she was talking about Jen Kingwell's book, Quilt Recipes. She was talking about this faux, I'm sorry about Betsy in the background, but I have just a few minutes to shoot this intro, and I need to use this time, but she thinks it's time for me to feed her. Not quite yet. She's a little ahead of schedule. So Kathy Martin at Catbird Quilts was talking about Jen Kingwell's book. I think it's called Quilt Recipes. And in it, she was talking about this faux chenille. That entire video and all the things that Kathy was talking about and experimenting with on camera about what she was learning from Jen Kingwell, I mean, it just highlighted my radar. All the neurons were firing because I was trying to figure out how to put my cotton on here, but just putting little flat circles it didn't seem appropriate. It seemed like it was going to be too flat, and I don't want flat. So I decided I'm going to experiment with Jen Kingwell's approach of making faux chenille. When we get to that point, I'll demonstrate it for you. But it required me to do a purchase of some flannel, some white basic flannel. So I purchased that from Amazon, and it's on its way in. Since that's all I needed, and I don't live next to a fabric store. I live in Scottsboro, Alabama, which is 45 minutes outside of Huntsville, where I've lived for the past, all of my adult life. And there's no place here for me to get flannel. So I just made a purchase from Amazon. You can buy just 1 yard and it ships to you for free. Kind of hard to argue with that. So when that comes in, then I will intersect back into our videos working on the cotton on this. So I moved on to working on the right side of the front of this sleep sack, and that is down here in front of me. I wanted to continue to try to use techniques from this book, Nicholas Ball's Inspiring Improv, because this whole project for me was all about making sure I got to, open the valve on my creativity, try to ignore as many rules as I could possibly ignore and still construct something, and just try to be a little bit freer about things for a little bit. Just a way to just do a jump start, if you will, on the creativity and the energy in producing the videos and being in the studio. And I needed that. I mostly needed it because there's so many distractions with this pond installation and the puppy and the 2 dogs who both need training. I needed just to be free in the studio. And I'm really enjoying it. I'm really, really enjoying it. And I hope that you guys are too. What I decided I wanted to do was kind of like a 4-patch approach to filling in the left side and the right side of the front of the sleep sack. But there were going to be different colorways. The right side was going to be your sunsets. The left side is going to be, in the middle of the day, beautiful blue skies. So there's going to be different colors. And I wanted to stack those sunsets. And so I used the stacking method that Nicholas presented in his book, and I'm really pleased with it. I wanted a smaller scale on the right-hand side with all the sunsets, and I want a larger scale for the left side. I think I'm going to have less fabrics for the blues. I don't know. We'll see. For this project, I have not done any shopping for fabric. It's all been pulled from a stash of fabric that I've held on to from the 90s. Gave it to my daughter maybe a decade or 2 ago, and she's recently given it back to me. So it's a blend of some current, contemporary fabrics and then some from the 90s. And I'm fine with that. I've got a colorway in my head and I'm just pulling and doing the best I can with what I have. And that's another part of just being free and letting my creativity just explore whatever limitations I get because of one thing or another. I'm not letting it hinder me. Like my hay bales were going to look completely different than they're looking. I'm still rolling with it. It's okay. It is okay. Quick question before we go on. That book of Jen Kingwell's, do any of you have it? I understand there's a lot of recipes in it, and I don't need to buy it if it's 50% recipes, and not heavily on quilting. I can't eat like the normal person. I'm that person who you can't believe that they have all the allergies that they have. So, I just doesn't do me any good to have a cookbook, have a recipe book. I just won't do me any good. So I don't need to buy it unless it's more like 60 or 70% of quilting, but there's just a little bit of recipes in it. So if you've seen it, if you've laid eyes on that book, please give me some information about what the content really is in that book. Because once I found out, I've been ignoring that book because it was about recipes. But maybe it's not all. Now that I've seen Kathy Martin talking about it and demonstrating this faux chenille, oh my gosh. I'm like, oh, what else? What other, great secrets are inside that book that I need to get my hands on? First order of business is to get a square cut from each of these. And since I'm going to be using the stack method, which is something that I haven't really ever done, but it's very simple, it's very simple. But there's an element to how it's presented in Nicholas Ball's book that I really wasn't aware of. He has it to where after you create your two stacks, you sew them back together. And then you turn it and you slice the other direction. And that's for making these improv four squares. So that's what we're going to be doing today. And since I want like an ombre effect, I'm kind of worried about how this is going to turn out. But I'm going to worry about that after I get everything cut. So give me a second. I am going to I really do like the Quilter Select rulers because of the non-slip properties that they have. That's a really nice quality. I like the markings too. I'm really used to is it the OmniGrid? Is that what it's called? Yes. I'm really used, Creative Grids. I'm really used to these and I love them, but I could get some more of these Quilter Selects and my heart would be really, very happy. Okay. I'm just going to start with the pinks. Start at the top. Got my iron ready so I can iron an area smooth if I need to. So you'll notice that this is like I don't know where this came from. My daughter gave me this when she gave me back my fabrics from the 90s. And it's had some sun exposure, which is not bad. It's got some fuzz. That's a nice little gift. So you've got variations of color just on this, but it's all cotton. It's clearly all cotton. I cannot get a full square, and I don't need any white in my combinations that I'm doing right now. So when I cut this, I'm going to have to cut it uniquely of everything else. So why don't I just get that one out of the way so I can just set it aside. I'm going to press that. So if I'm going to use this pink, I am just going to have to know that I'm going to use it a little differently than the others. And it's a nice pink to use, to include. So I will. Yeah, I really like this Quilter Select. I could use it. It doesn't really want to move. That's fantastic. I think any more rulers that I buy need to be Quilter Select. I've talked to you guys about that. I have terrible thumbs and wrists, and well, all my joints are actually, but everything slips and slides around on me, particularly bad. So I need a little help where I can get it. And it looks like the Quilter Select is the right tool for me. Perfect. Let me just get that pressed. That worked out nicely. Yes, it's going to have some color differences and it's going to have this permanent crease, but I'm going to cut on that line pretty quickly here, so that's not going to matter. The way I'm supposed to do this is to stack. I think I should do all of my darks together and have my stack gradiate from bottom to top. That way, if I need to have some kind of control over the color as I'm going along, I can. Keep on wanting to cut each individual piece. Now see, I can't cut from this. Can't cut a square from it. I think, what is that, 4? 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to go with that. Yes, I love this ruler. It doesn't want to just glide. That's going to help me tremendously. To do what I'm trying to accomplish, you really don't have to worry about how precise this is. Like, you could not even use a ruler. I don't mind using a ruler. I'm a little nervous about completely letting go and trying it without a ruler. I'm going to create a square. Using these, since they're strips, I'm going to create a square by piecing these together. It's not a bad idea. Let's just see. We're winging it here, right? Okay, how do I want to do this? Equal, equal? I think so. Putting the 3-inch mark right down the middle. As I mentioned, I love this Quilter Select ruler. It's not sliding. I don't have to have a death grip on my ruler. My wrists and shoulders are not trying to fight against the slip. It's great. When I win the lottery, I will get more Quilter Select rulers. Okay, good. Now we've got another one. That's nice. Okay, so when I was working on putting this fabric together for the front of the sleeve sack, I started thinking, this sure looks like a, Kawandi. And I thought, maybe I can do this by Kawandi, using that technique for putting together the front of the 2 front pieces of the sleeve sack. And so I started watching. I've got a couple of videos saved on YouTube, and I started looking at those. I quickly decided it's not the approach I need to go through to do what I'm trying to accomplish here. But I do think there's going to be some Kawandi in my future. So I was talking with Sherry, one of the viewers, and who is now a friend. Many of you are, and I just am so grateful for that. So she and I were texting back and forth today, and she showed me what she's been doing. I think what she's been doing is called pojagi, Pojagi, and I love that. I saw The Last Homely House does lovely work, and she did the pojagi approach to get some window treatments done, and I have loved it. It's like stained glass. It's just lovely, and I want to do that one day too. So I told Sherry about my desire to do that. So she sent me a little video of what she's done and a couple of pictures. And so I thought I would share that here with you so you can be inspired too.
This might be easier. Here's the 2 pieces on the one side. There's the seam, and then there's this seam. But if you flip it over, you have the seam on the other side, and then you have the smooth seam here. They use these a lot for using scraps for like grocery bags, stuff to take to the market. If you do it in batik, it almost a thinner fabric. They use a thinner fabric because it's warm in that area. It looks like stained glass.
Don't those look great? Not sure about the video quality being texted, if it was fine or not. I hope you could still see everything well enough. It depends on what you're watching it on. I just love what she did. And I think that the inspiration that I'm taking by watching her do that, and then by watching the others do the Kawandi on YouTube, I hope that you guys can see some value in watching me go through these steps. And that's why I'm sharing it, because I hope that it is valuable to you. So the process I went through to do the 4 patches is I just stacked up a bunch of fabric and I cut them into a square, cut them down the middle, and then I took the top one and I was going to put it on the bottom, but since I'm trying to have kind of an ombre effect, time I wasn't sure if I wanted to have the darker fabrics on bottom or top, but you've seen, if you looked at my community post, I did go with having the saturated colors on the bottom. So I didn't want to take that one on the top and put it at the bottom because it would give too much of an even blend, and I am looking for gradation, not just blend. So I just took the fabric that was on top and hit it one or two beneath. So you're not matching things up equal to equal. So your orange isn't matched up with orange, it's matched up with your pink or your purple or reds or something like that. So you do that, and then you sew them back together, and then you cut them the opposite direction, and you do the same thing. You take the one on top and you put it somewhere in the middle. And then you take that, and I wanted a smaller scale. So I just cut it again. I cut it around that center section of where the 4-patch was created. I cut along the sides and around the top of it. And then what that did is that gave me a lot of smaller pieces to work with. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we're going from dark to light. Okay, the way that we're supposed to put this together is we're supposed to cut it in the middle, separate them, take the top fabric, put it on the bottom. That way you get a good mixture of things. But I don't want just an even mixture. Like I want my lights, my purest light, not mixed with this dark, because I want a little bit of an ombre effect. So what I might do, instead of putting it on the bottom, I might just reverse the top two. Let's see how that goes. If that doesn't, and this is the line I want to follow, so I'm going to turn all this way. And I don't care that things have slipped. That's fine. This is not going to be an exact science kind of thing. Not at all. Except I do want to make sure I get that, like in the middle of that crease line that's been there for ages. So I'm going to put that one on top and follow it. So what I'm creating is the artist's interpretation of sunsets, the quilting artist's interpretation of sunsets. That's why I want a little bit of an ombre effect. I'm going to put this back on the bottom so that we are stacked how I originally wanted it to be stacked. I just put the pink one on there so I could make sure I cut away that ugly crease mark. Okay. All right, so now I'm going to just reverse these top two. You're supposed to put it on the bottom so you have a nice good mix, but I'm not looking for a good mix. I am looking for, actually what I might do is put it a little bit in the middle. I want the colors to gradiate. I haven't decided to be sitting here talking to you about how particular I am about it. I haven't decided if I want it to be dark to light or dark to light, from top to bottom or bottom to top. Okay, now we take all this, we sew them together, like this to this and the next one to the next one, and then we come and we lay it down and we cut the opposite direction and then reverse the stack then, and then play with the stack again. All right, I don't know about you, but I think all these colors side by side are quite yummy. Now, I've said, like I've told you guys, I did not go out and cherry pick fabric for this because it would look completely different if I had. A lot of strings here. And that's okay. That's another part of just letting it go and being free that I'm wanting to do, letting my creativity just, not be hampered by rules right now. So I'm okay with that. That was part of the objective. And just trying to enjoy the process. Okay, so we're going to get these stacked, and then we're going to cut that way, and I'm going to cut without a ruler so we don't get a lot of regularity, because I do want this to be a wonky, I want it to look improv. I want it to be wonky. Sunsets don't fit inside of squares, right? Getting about time for a new blade, but that was a lot to cut through, especially during those seams. What was that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then at the places where you've got seams, it was 12. So no wonder. Okay, yay. Now we play with our stack a little bit. Okay, we're going to put these back together and see what we get. Get these ready for the ironing board. And as I'm doing that, I'm trying to think about how am I going to scale this down? And yes, my seams don't line up, and that's exactly how it was supposed to be. So I got to figure this out. How do I scale this down? I don't want 4 patches this big. Should have started with smaller squares, number one. Or should I? Like, I think this is probably fine. Now we just need to treat it the same way, just continue to refine it and get it smaller and smaller. One step at a time. Look at that happy accident. Those points all line up and I didn't even try. I was trying not to make them line up. Okay, so I'm going to press everything. When I do that, if I come in and I cut this way, I may just do it to 1 to make sure it works out. If I cut this way and I cut this way, and then what would that leave me with? Let's just do this one and see what happens. Trying to think too far in the future was making my brain hurt. Okay, so let's do these. Okay, so that's not a bad size, because when you lose your 1/4 inch all the way around, I really was thinking smaller, but that won't be too bad. Okay, so now I can come back and I can these two together, these two together, these two together, and these two together. That makes sense? It does make sense, but is that what I want? I think that's fine. Or do I want to wait until there's another group and kind of mix and match? And I think that's what I want to do. Okay, this is exciting. So at least I know this will work. So let me put this all back how it was. It was like this. So I'm going to slide this off to the side, get all these pressed, give them the same treatment that I just did there, and then I have a lot of randomness to work with. Okay, so light to dark, top to bottom, bottom to top. Want these to be somewhat lined up. Again, it doesn't need to be exact. Just don't want it to be so terribly askew that you can't use anything. Okay, we're going to cut this way and that way, and then mix and match our pieces. Okay, all right, yay. Okay, so we've got all these center pieces. Keep those stacked together. We got these that need to be put together. Oops. Closer to the bottom, but not on the bottom. Okay, so these get grouped. Hot off the presses, this is what we've got. Now, it's not been to the pressing mat, of course. So you'll have these 4 patches that are all dark, right? And then it's going to be getting a good mixture. Nothing's lining up, which is beautiful. So when it came down to it, putting together my 4 patches just looked completely different than what I thought it was going to look. But it's okay. I still like the way it looks. And like I said, I'm not going to let any of the obstacles that come up in this hold me up and try to fix it and make anything perfect. This is not about seeking perfection. I do need progress over perfection. I want this completed sooner than later, sooner than, it gets cold out and my grandbaby needs this. But also I need that completion, just like all of us do. When we're creatives, sometimes we can, be quite happy just being creative. But I like to finish things. I'm a finisher. And it aggravates me when things are left undone. So this quilt, being so complex, this one, the Pick A Petal, being so complex and doing so much else, so many other projects throughout the year and, life, making it take as long as it's taking is, it's a learning curve of frustration that I'm embracing, and I'm not mad about it. It's a sustained patience level. And I think that's healthy for us all to try to achieve, right? Everything's really shrunk up now that I've attached everything that was on the pattern. Now I need to get a better feel for just how much it's going to shrink. Like, clearly, I don't want to start here and just draw a straight line down to here, and have this next stack on a diagonal. So I need, I think, the way I envision it anyway, is for it to be on the horizontal and not, wonky like that all the way up. I want a stack level, not on an incline. This is your zipper size, so it's your straight up and down reference point. So I don't want anything going like that on a diagonal. Okay, so what I need to do is I need to analyze each of my strips, my rows, and get a level point all the way across them and get them attached. If they're making it all the way across, and I don't think any of them are yet, they're getting close. This one does, just barely. And that one makes it across. That one makes it across. That one needs something else. That one makes it across, and the others will make it across, so that's fine. So let me finish adding that. This one didn't get pressed, so I have to go back and do that. So I need to add to this one. Let me do that really quickly. What do I want to add? What do I want to add? I could add that. So I could do that. Got a lot of orange down here, though. A lot of orange. Also got a lot of this purple dot, kind of like that. For some reason, having more of this tire track doesn't bother me down here. Kind of like this one, but it's a little bit lower, and I don't want to cut this down any further than what it is. So I think this one might win. You're not going to see much of it anyway, so it's okay that it's repeating some of what's in here. Okay, I'm going to do this. Get that sewn on. Press that. And then start leveling up my rows. Okay, that's going to look good. Get this one pressed, and then I want to get, like the bottom 3 rows put together and see what I'm looking at to see if I need to put a 4th row in that's different from this one. See what I mean? Like if these are going to shrink down, which it'll shrink down a good bit, I might need to put in another row of medium tones, or do this one because it still has a lot of the dark in it, and do one that's purely medium tones. I'll bring this down and see how this has a nice blend between the lighter and the medium. Could have 2 that more like that, have another one like that. I don't know, we'll see. So I don't want to go too far. Let's just get these first 3 done, first 3 rows. See what happens. I've been thinking a lot about you guys today, all of you who have been watching since the beginning, or, somewhere, maybe not even the beginning, but close enough to it, and that, some of you have become friends. You've reached out, you've texted, you've emailed, you've made comments on the regular, and that's just been a very valuable thing to me, and I want you guys to know that it is. So thank you to all of you who have been supporters of me, you know, giving me your likes and subscribes and your comments. It helps to support this channel, and that helps support my psyche, my emotional stability. Trying to do a YouTube channel is challenging enough. Trying to do it this past 6 months, where I've had so many, you know, life events that were challenging, and it was just wonderful to have you guys here for the journey. But that's also what my channel is for, right? I want to be doing for the general beginner quilter population what you guys are kind of doing for me. I want to be that motivator and encourager. I want my journey to help others. Like, I'm only here because of you who have taken up your time to invest in supporting what I'm doing. Like, you've taken time to watch my videos, to comment, to send in your work to me, to email me and text or become Facebook friends, whatever it is. And that's just been a beautiful thing. It really has been. So I hope that together we can provide that for the new beginner quilter in general. It's so easy anymore to get some instruction, you know, like that's what I was missing in the 90s. Oh, that looks good. I was missing instruction. You know, you just couldn't get it from getting a magazine here and there. Like, I needed a lot more than just a magazine, a little paragraph in a magazine to learn from, or a book here or there. They just weren't as awesome as they are now. But now you can get so much from YouTube. What you can also get by going to YouTube is intimidation. And, you know, because all it takes is just diving into quilting, quilt making, to realize what all you have to learn yet. And that can be intimidating. So I just want others, hopefully what I'm doing, to encourage others that, yes, it's a journey, but you make beautiful things happen along that journey. So what I'm trying to figure out is I don't want to just cut like straight through here. Well, I guess I do need to have, this is my low point. So just like when you're traveling, your weakest person sets your pace. That's why children get carried and old people get support. You know, and people with disabilities get support, you know, is the whole gang can travel faster. Well, this is my limitation here. So I've got to have, this has got to be my straight edge going across, and that's got to be my straight edge going across. And I want these center points to be as much in the center as possible. So what we're going to do is we're going to fold this in half. Everything, you know, the grains running straight with each other. Use my wonderful Quilter Select ruler, making sure I've got it squared up with the seam, directions of the seams. And then as soon as we do this, as soon as we get this other side done, okay, so what I'm supposed to do now is I'm supposed to cut, like, that's my lowest point. So I got to cut all this away. That's what I'm saying. All of these rows up here on this pattern are going to shrink down towards the bottom, because I've got to go into some of these rows and cut off a good chunk. So if you know of any beginning quilters, send them my channel. Share my channel to them. Number one, it helps, you know, me, helps my channel, which I really greatly appreciate. Oh, that's looking good. So what I was going to say, oh, let me finish. So send my channel to them to see if they, see if I'm to their liking, and see if they are encouraged by what I'm doing. But I really appreciate you guys watching and being interested to do that. So what I was going to say is I want to make sure that whenever I cut down to my shortest piece, that I don't have any of my center seam stitching to be too far off on the edge. This one almost is, but I can still take a seam allowance on that and still see some of that orange, so it's okay. So you're not going to get the same height on all these pieces. You see how this is, how big is that? Like almost 2.5. Not 2.5, but it's almost 2.5. And then that one is almost 2. Not 2, but 2, almost 2. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing to this one. This is my shortest one, so it's going to set the pace for everything else. Making sure my ruler is squared up. It is. Oh, that's looking good. Okay, so let's get these 3 rows attached and then play with the rest of it to see if we need to insert another row. All right, let's see. This comes down. Need to add some down here actually. This is straight. Okay, that's where that goes. This will overlap by 1/4 inch, right? Brings it to right about there. I know I'm gonna have to add, and I can't decide if I need to add between these 2 or after this one. Need to add to the side of that one. How did I miss that? That one as well. I didn't cut any off the tips. Oh, it's because they were further up where the pattern was more narrow. That's why it looked like it was covering all the way. Very interesting. Okay, so yeah, I need to add. I need to add. Well, I have some that are made up already that I can squeeze in here. Right, I've got all these little cutoffs and unused bits, various tones. Got my oranges and my pinks and orange, and then my lighter ones. So I need to take little Betsy to get her last of her puppy vaccinations, I believe they are, and pay for some dirt that we got. So when I get back, that's what I'll work on. Fun, fun, fun. I'm excited. It's fun to just play with color and fabric and movement. So all of it makes for interest, right? See all these purples? You know, they're running up through here. That makes for a line of movement. All of these chevron ones, not chevrons, they're really car tracks, tire tracks, I mean, they make for a certain line of movement. And the scattered bees, I almost said butterflies. Yes, it's just so fun. It energizes me, it really does. I like the flow of my gradation of color up to here, but so I think I need to maintain that all the way up to here and maybe add, and I like this flow too, so I think I need to add one here. Actually, you know what? I think there's more of a stark difference from here to here that could do for a blending, like to have another one. I may end up having to do 2 of them, but to have another something in here No, I think I take that back. There's not enough of this deeper colors in this blended area. So I need a line, a row here that takes me from all this deep saturated color to these more medium tones. That's what I'll work on. So I'm glad I got that on camera so I can remember what I just told you. See, we need a sprinkling of these. Since there's already some of this on this left side, I'm going to switch and put this like this. I want my bees to go up and down though, so I'm going to do that. That's going to put two rows, two pieces of the same fabric together. But I think that could be interesting. As two of the same there, that could be interesting. I don't know. I don't think I like it so much. Let's just do this. Yeah, I like that better. Here's a good blender. What do we put with that to blend? These two go together. I need to get myself out of the house and to the vet. Oh, it's so hard to walk away. Do you guys ever do that? Push it to the max, like get to the point where you're so involved in what you're doing, you make yourself late to go somewhere else. Yeah, see, I think I could stand to have a little bit of the saturation from down here over here. So I could do that. Yeah, I like that. So I'll come back. I'll go ahead and add this to here and this one to here. Create this row and square it up and see where we are at that point. And then if I need to add another row, it goes above here to blend between the medium tones here to the lighter tones. So I just got back from going to the vet, and both dogs thought it was time to eat. So they were a little chirpy, but now they're eating, so I think they're going to be content. And so I can hopefully sit down here and finish getting this fabric ready. Then I'll move on and I'll do the left side, which is all in the blues. I got to do that fabric pull. I just love it when I go to these different places that have fabric and I pull together the different colors. You know, it's just, they're beautiful on their own, but when you see them come together, it's like something different is just immediately born out of that. And that feels good. So getting to where I am now is kind of similar to where I wanted to get to. I think I still wanted a smaller scale, but I'm not unhappy with the scale. And because I know, number one, it's going to cinch down a little bit as I get more of my seams done. But the way it went about that I got all this put together is not how I envisioned that I was going to do it, which is more strictly keeping with Nicholas Ball's approach. And it's just the stacking method that so many of you have used. I've never used it and I wanted to try it out, and this was a perfect opportunity for it. I still basically did the same thing, but it wasn't quite as fluid as it should have been. It was very recoverable. It just took a little bit of extra time, and that's okay. Well, I know it's looking a little rough, and it doesn't really necessarily look like it's all blending together just yet, but stay with me. You know, I think it's going to be all about the finishing details. Hopefully it's all going to come together. I think it will. I have a vision for it. On the left side, I think I mentioned to you, the scale needs to be completely different. That side is going to represent our blue skies, our open, expansive skies. So it needs to be a larger scale, I think. I'll do a fabric pull on that and show that to you guys. I think it's going to go together a lot quicker than the right side did, just because it is larger scale. So I'm going to go clean up, do a fabric pull, and do my best to keep the needle moving. I hope you guys are too. See you soon.